I visited the Shri Karnath temple run by the Hindu Society of Brazos Valley, which has served members of the Hindu faith in the Bryan College Station area for the past 15 years. Hinduism is the central religion of India and Nepal. About 80% of the Indian population regard themselves as Hindu. A census in 2004 found that there are approximately 1.5 million Hindus in the U.S., comprising 0.5% of the total population. Most of these devotees are Indian American. Hinduism originated around the Indus Valley near the river Indus in modern-day Pakistan. Most Hindus believe in a supreme God whose qualities and forms are represented by the multitude of deities which emanate from him. Some of the most well-known deities are Brahma, who has 4 heads, and Shiva, who is often represented in human form with blue skin, holding a third eye and an open palm, sitting in a yogic position. Hindus believe that existence is a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth governed by karma. They believe that the soul passes through a cycle of successive lives and its next incarnation is always dependent on how the previous life was lived. Hindus celebrate many holy days, but the Festival of Lights, Diwali, is the best known. Traditionally, the Hindu faith is one of personal devotion called puja. I learned today that most Hindu temples are open 24 hours so that members may come and practice on their own time. Unlike the Christian faith, there is not a specific time set aside for devotion, for example, as Sundays are. Because Shri Karnath Temple is located in the U.S., where most of the constructs of daily life are derived from Judeo-Christian practices, the temple holds a service on Sunday mornings with classes afterwards. The temple is open nightly for members to visit for devotion. However, because the congregation is so small, they struggle to find volunteers to open the temple every evening for puja. Therefore, it's only open sporadically. When I entered the service, I removed my shoes at the front door and sat on a padded mat behind a dozen or so congregants, many of which had children. Binders containing prayers and songs in Hindu, many with English translations, were placed at each seated spot. There was a woman seated in front, cross-legged, that led the puja. At first, she and the congregants chanted together, then during a second set, she chanted and they repeated. There was about 15 minutes of puja, followed by 3 to 5 minutes of quiet meditation, concluded with general temple announcements made by Mr. Verma, the head of the society. The service ended with arati. At the end of every puja or worship, arati is performed. The process of arati reminds me a lot of the Eucharist, or Holy Communion, practiced during Christian services. The devotees at Shri Karnath rose from their seated positions and formed a line in front of the central altars under a bell hanging from the ceiling. During the ritual, a flame is lit on a plate, as well as a fragrant incense. As the bell is rung, hands are clapped, and devotees sing. The arati reminds Hindus of the greatness of the Lord. The rotated flame is symbolic of the cosmos revolving around the Almighty. As the flame circumvents the devotees' heads, they touch their eyes and face, covering themselves with the incense. Then a red patu is placed on their forehead. The patu is said to invoke a feeling of sanctity in the wearer. Traditionally, its shape and color vary according to one's caste. Today I saw mostly red patus aligned with the Kshatriya caste, which signifies valor. After Sunday services at the temple, children attend faith classes called Balhivar in the adjoining hall named Saraswati Kal Mandir, while adults take yoga. All but 2 of the dozen or so children in attendance were under the age of 10. Mr. Verma's wife explained to me that they struggle with weekly membership. There is only a small amount of congregants that come often, and the children in attendance are rarely past 5th grade. Like many faiths today, the Hindu faith in the U.S. struggles to maintain a devoted following with teenagers and young adults. Mrs. Verma expressed a difficulty of holding the attention of many Hindu teenagers, and because most of their congregation only participates in larger festivals. It is solely during the festivals that the temple is also able to provide van transport from A&M campus so that Hindu students may visit. She shared her frustration of the temple's location in Navasota because it makes it so difficult for international students, many of whom do not have cars, to visit the temple except when they are able to provide transport. Upon leaving the temple today, a family passed out sweetbread as a snack as they headed to the adjoining hall for yoga and faith classes. In all, this was a very beautiful experience. All the devotees at the temple were very welcoming and gracious and helped me find my place in the prayer books and made me feel extremely comfortable and welcomed. There is such a tranquility and compassionate aura surrounding the Hindu faith. Mr. Verma and his wife asked me to please return for another visit and explained many times that they are happy for visitors outside of the Hindu faith to visit the temple and to learn more about their traditions and cultures. It was very interesting to speak with Mrs. Verma and see that although the Hindu faith is different from the Christian and Jewish faiths that I have practiced, they are also struggling to align their faith with the 21st century. They are struggling to maintain their traditions and culture and pass it on to younger generations, something that I believe many religions are struggling with today. In all, as I mentioned, this was a very beautiful experience, and I do hope to return to the temple, perhaps bring friends, and just expose them to what a wonderful and exciting faith Hinduism is. This was a wonderful experience. Thank you very much.
Shiva